New phone, who this? Hi, I'm Alicia Kinchlow, the owner of Kinchlow Law, a family law practice that's based in the Philadelphia area. And in today's video, we're going to talk about why you need to update the court right now on three pieces of information. All right. So if you have a pending custody case, but even if you don't have a pending custody case or a pending support case, you'll want to update Philadelphia Family Court with your contact information. And the reason I'm telling you is because just today we had a number of situations where information was mailed out to individuals at addresses that they no longer resided. And that was because they had not informed the court that their address information had changed. Now, sometimes when your custody case or your support case is over, or even your divorce case, you don't think about needing to update the court with that information. Sometimes you believe that the other party is going to serve you properly or that the court will notify you if there's any changes. But let's take a look at what sometimes happens. Sometimes you may forward your information at the address that you're leaving, but that forwarding can stop after a period of time. And if the person who's there is not going to let you know that you're receiving important information, or doesn't send it back to the court, it's possible it can look like you received proper service based on what the Philadelphia court system believes is proper service of a new hearing. So, for example, they're going to send out a lot of your notices just by first class mail. And if your notice has not come back in the system, then they could choose to see that as good service. And what that means is that they can proceed with your case without you. Now, it's important that you notify the court of not only changes in your mailing address, because again, as long as your kids are minors, there's still the possibility of new things happening with regard to certain types of petitions. For example, petitions to modify custody, or petitions for special relief, or even petitions for emergency relief. Now, a lot of the times the court is going to try to reach out to you by telephone because in Philadelphia, a lot of the hearings are happening via virtual teleconference software. So they need your email address in order to make sure you get the documents. So they'll try to call you. But if you haven't updated your phone number, they can't reach you. And so it makes it a little bit difficult for you to get this information or to even have knowledge of this information. The next thing is your email address. Now, this is something typically that people have not always provided to the courts. Now, to kind of take a step back, if you've ever been through a family court proceeding in Philadelphia, you know that you have to fill out a form whenever you file something new, and oftentimes whenever you have a hearing in family court, you have to fill out a form called a domestic relations information sheet. And that form asks you a number of questions about yourself, about the other party, and also about the children that are involved in the case. And one of the questions they do ask you about is your email address. Now, sometimes that is something that people skip over, but it's important for you to fill that information out because that is another way for them to contact you and to make sure that you're getting the link for the virtual conference. So sometimes people are getting notices in the mail, and these are things that I've observed. They're getting notices in the mail saying, hey, do not appear in person. Here is the date and time of your hearing. Here is the virtual courtroom it's going to be in. And then there's an instruction sheet that comes attached to that. And oftentimes people are not reading that instruction sheet. And they believe that because it said it's going to be virtual, they're going to get some additional notification or somehow the court will let them know how they log onto the system. Or they believe they just have to download it and put in information regarding their case. And that's not what happens. Because of the nature of the cases, there needs to be security features involved in logging onto the courtrooms. And so that means that you can, a lot of the times they are using your case number as the meeting number to join in, or they're using some other number for you to join in, and perhaps giving you a very unique password, several letters and digits in order to actually get into the meeting. So these are things that are going to generally be emailed to you. But if you haven't updated your email address, if you're no longer using the email address that you last gave the court, there's no way for them to know. So here are a few tips for making sure the court has your right information. One is to whenever you're filing a new matter in court, which has been since the start of COVID, you want to make sure the court has your current address, whether it's confidential or not. They have your current mailing address where you're going to actually receive the mail, that they have a telephone number for you that is a working telephone number, and they have an email address that you are going to actually check. Those are 3 things you want to make sure you do whenever you file something new. If you haven't filed anything new and maybe you're waiting for a case to be rescheduled that was canceled due to COVID, because there are still cases that are waiting to be rescheduled, you want to contact the court, and I'll put the phone number for the court in the show notes. You want to contact the court and make sure they have your updated information. Don't assume it's right. I think you can always just go to extra step and say, hey, here's my address, here's my telephone number, here's my email address. And if it's already correct, that's fine. If it's not, you have an opportunity to fix it. One other thing, make sure that if you have an apartment number, that apartment number is listed and is correct as well. I've seen things be 1 digit off, and that makes a world of difference. Sometimes your neighbors don't send back your mail like they're supposed to. They just ignore it. Okay? So, and the last tip I'm going to give you is to make sure that you're reading your notices carefully, that you understand what you're supposed to do. There are different numbers to call depending on where your case is, if it's a divorce case, if it's support, if it's custody, and then at what level the case is at. If the support case is at the conference level versus at the master's unit, same thing for custody. If your custody case is at the master's unit versus at the judge's level, there are different contact telephone numbers for you to reach out to verify your information, or to contact the court to let them know that there is something that needs to be addressed. So make sure you're keeping those documents. And if the other party tells you, hey, look, we have a court date on this date and you didn't get anything, contact the court right away. A few things that we're doing is that we're making sure that whenever something comes up, whether it's we're getting a notification via email, or if one of our clients say that they heard from the other party that there might be a hearing date coming up, or they receive a document that doesn't have an actual petition or complaint attached to it, we're reaching out to the court and kind of filling in those gaps and making sure that we have everything. And it's extra work for us to make sure that everything is going smoothly, but it's absolutely something that you want to make sure you do, because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity. Perhaps you've been waiting for a very long time to have your case heard, or you don't want to get a judgment entered against you because you didn't appear for something you didn't know about, but it looks like you got served. All right, I hope this touches on a few things and stresses to you the importance of making sure the court has your updated information, even if you don't have anything pending, because the other side can always file something if your kids are still minors. So you want to make sure that you're updating the court with your information, and do it every time something changes. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure that you're leaving comments in below about other topics you would like us to cover. If you run into any issues with navigating family court since the shutdowns that you would like us to address, or maybe help provide some helpful information on, again, leave those comments there. Make sure you hit subscribe, turn on the little notification bell, so each time we drop an episode on custody, divorce, or support, you'll get a little ring and you won't miss anything. All right, until next time, take care.